Buongiorno, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to do a full review on all the new niche releases that are already hyped on the market. This is part of me testing hyped up niche fragrances series. I have all the playlists in the description down below, so if you like this one you can binge watch the rest. So if you want to know all the new hot releases on the market and want an honest opinion on them, then please keep on watching. Let's begin with, I would say, the most expensive fragrance from the ones that I'm going to talk about today. This is SIRENE from Fragrance du Bois, and it is a cherry fragrance. When you first spray it, you will definitely get cherry. I have to be honest, I smell more strawberry than cherry, so it's kind of a mix for me personally between cherry and strawberry. Not mentioned in the notes, but I personally get it. It has a little bit of a milkiness and it has a base of oud. When I first sprayed it, I said, I don't get the oud so much, but be careful because first impression can be quite deceiving. So in the dry down, this is quite, I wouldn't say heavy on the oud, but the oud is very predominant. So if you are not an oud lover, maybe this is not a fragrance for you. So overall, this is a fruity oud. A girly fruity oud, and the oud is friendly. I also have to mention that it's one of the fragrances that you must try on your skin. For example, on paper I get a little bit more of the cherry note. In the dry down, the oud is there, but it's not as heavy and present as on my skin. On my skin, on the dry down, it's quite oudy. Again, friendly oud, but it's very present. And I don't get much of a cherry. I get more strawberry, a little bit of almost milkshake, strawberry milkshake with a hint of cherry. This is how this fragrance smells on my skin. So definitely, given this price tag, I would say this is not a safe blind buy. And I would encourage you also to test this fragrance on your skin and don't fall for the first impression and just wait for it to see if it's something that you would appreciate. Overall, it's a beautiful scent. I actually really like it. But for me personally, given the price tag of Fragrance du Bois, I need to be absolutely wowed with a fragrance to get it. So if you love gourmand oud or a fruity oud, that is very feminine, almost girly-like, then definitely this fragrance is for you. Next, we have the latest release from Chanel. It's a private collection and it is COMETE. Yes, okay, technically it's not niche, but I always include Chanel exclusive collection to niche because of the price tag, honestly. And COMETE is a Chanel Iris elegant fragrance. It's very Chanel because it's extremely elegant and has an aldehyde in it. Now, the aldehydes here, don't think again about the aldehydes in number 5. I feel like people associate aldehydes only with number 5, and there are a lot of types of aldehydes actually. This is not detergent like, I mean, clean, almost laundry clean. It is mostly a very powdery, elegant, mature iris. This is a fragrance that I would not recommend for younger generation. You have the iris here that has the powderiness but also the sharpness. This is why I personally don't like this fragrance, because generally speaking, iris is not a note that I personally love because of the sharpness. So unless it's very light and powdery, I do not like iris focused fragrances. And it has the signature mask from Chanel. And the most fragrance that I could say is similar to this one is actually Kenzo Flower. They both have this sharp powderiness. This is more mature, less sweet in a way, and more elegant. Overall, I find like especially Chanel clientele will definitely love this fragrance. So I feel like they did a great release, but I would say it's not a mass pleasing one. It's not something that I would say go out of your way to test unless you are a big fan of iris. At the beginning it had a moderate sillage, but I would say after 5 4 hours, it became a skin scent. So you have to be very close to me to get it. But I have to mention that I'm not an oversprayer. So this is COMETE from Chanel. Next, we have the latest release from Goldfield and Banks, and it is Mystic Bliss. By the way, I am planning on doing an updated buying guide on Goldfield and Banks, so definitely stay tuned. And looking up the notes, I was very excited about this release. I felt like it will be something that I would definitely love. Seemed unique and feminine, but it's not. It is unique, definitely, but it's not a very feminine fragrance. I would say for me, it is totally unisex, even sometimes leaning masculine. So sometimes I feel it, okay, it's a totally unisex, and sometimes I say, no, it's more masculine. When you first spray it, you will get this almost fruitiness that I personally wouldn't say comes from fig. I don't know how Kunzia smells like, but I get almost like a sweet fruitiness, but it's not very very sweet. It's very soft, a little bit sharp. And then I get beautiful fig and sandalwood. Actually, it reminded me a little bit, not the whole composition, but it had a part of Gris Charnel from BDK. But then it develops quite differently and becomes very minty. The mint comes out very strong, especially in the dry down, alongside this cedar wood. So the cedar comes out much more predominant at the end than in the beginning, at least. I'm talking about my personal skin. And by the way, the notes that are listed from the brand are different than the ones that are on Fragrantica. So I will leave the notes of Fragrantica on the screen, and I will read you the notes from the brand. So we have Kunzia, frankincense, pink pepper, cardamom, immortelle, mint, clary sage from France, caramel, geranium, fig, orris, cassis, cedarwood, labdanum from Spain, and sandalwood. So if you saw the notes from the brand, you will not get the best idea of this fragrance. Fragrantica is more of the notes that you would get from the fragrance. And the rest, honestly, I don't get at all. So if you love minty fragrances or fruity, woody fragrances, I feel like you will love this one. Overall, I am not wowed by this fragrance, and I would not blind buy it at all. It's not a safe blind buy, but I feel like it's a good addition to Goldfield and Banks. This is a scent profile that they didn't create yet. Let's talk about another fragrance that I would classify as unisex leaning masculine that really took me by surprise. This is the newest release from JOVOY or JOVOY, Aqua Memorabis. This just puts a smile on my face because it is a very citrusy fragrance. This is bitter orange and clementine with a hint of pepper and a huge dose of vetiver. And it gives it this almost woody, earthy feeling. When I first sprayed it, I thought this is a fragrance that I would definitely put in my collection as someone who loves citrusy fragrances. It's very invigorating. It is a blast of citrus in the beginning. It's like amazing. In the dry down, the vetiver is what makes it not suitable for me personally and makes it, in my opinion, more masculine. It really shines through in the dry down. And also the pepper, I am not really a fan of black pepper in fragrances, and it's definitely here. It does complement this fragrance to perfection, but for me as a woman, I don't like it as much. Has an amazing performance. This is one of the best citrusy fragrance when it comes to performance, and overall I would highly recommend it for someone or for a man who is looking for a long-lasting citrusy fresh fragrance and who also loves a vetiver. It's so refreshing. So I'm bummed personally because I really love the opening and I wanted something like that, but that doesn't mean that it is a bad fragrance. So highly recommend this one for men, and I would say it's actually a fragrance that deserves more hype. Another masculine fragrance, but I knew that it was masculine, is the newest release from Giardini di Toscana. This is Blue Mare, and it is a very typical marine fragrance. Love the opening. Opening is gorgeous. Not such a fan of the dry down. The dry down is just a little bit like synthetic seaweeds. Who is fan of Giardini di Toscana? Tell me in the comments down below. So I feel like it is a good addition to the brand because they were lacking in this kind of scent profile. But honestly, I am not loving it. The cypress is nice here. The freshness, citruses, but it's just like the predominant note I don't like, so which is like sea notes. They mentioned Fragrantica sea notes. To me, it smells like synthetic seaweed, so I will leave it as it. It's not bad, but it's not groundbreaking, and I don't know. This brand got a lot of hype, and already this one is one of the best sellers here in Italy for men. I don't know. I have to be honest, I'm not such a big fan of this house. I am preparing on a buying guide, by the way, since it is a very, very, very popular niche house. I did a first impression on the brand quite a while ago. I will leave it linked down below. And since then they released more fragrances. So the brand is doing very, very well. So I am going to dedicate a buying guide on it. I would say for me gets a 6.5 out of 10 overall. And I know why it is a bestseller here in Italy, because it is similar to one of the most famous fragrances for men here in Italy from the niche houses, and it is Mega Mare from Orto Parisi. But I definitely prefer that one. Anyway, so overall, I don't feel like this is a recommended fragrance, I would say. So let's move to the next one. Next we have from Ormen JAYNE Vanille des Afriques, and it is a masculine vanilla. I know that people say it is unisex, but to me it is masculine. It is a powdery irisy vanilla fragrance, and the vanilla here is the high quality one, so don't expect a sweet fragrance or a gourmand scent. There's almost no sweetness. It's like lightly sweet, I would say. Mostly I get this orris note. I get a very expensive vanilla, and there is a hint of spices. I think there was pink pepper and something else in the notes. Overall, I get just a slightly spiciness. And what makes it, in my opinion, quite masculine is the cedar and the vetiver here. They are quite predominant to my personal nose. So it's overall powdery vanilla, a powdery woody vanilla. This is how I would classify this fragrance. And from my description, you would think it's a very like a dense, intensive fragrance. It's also called Intensivo, if I'm not mistaken, but it's actually not. It has a little bit of this freshness from the floral note. I think it was osmanthus and some musk. This gets from me a 9.5 out of 10. This is very chic and elegant, and I would love to smell this fragrance on a man. When it comes to performance, this is moderate to long lasting with also a moderate to strong projection. So if you love these high quality vanillas, I would definitely recommend this fragrance 100%. Now let's get to one of the recent releases from AKRO. AKRO has been now releasing quite a lot of fragrances. I think, yes, they released just this year already 3 fragrances. And today we are talking about Infuse. And Infuse is not your typical tea fragrance. So the focus of the brand, especially in the beginning, now I feel like they are going away from this like marketing. They were focused on fragrances that would represent an indulgence, an addiction. When this opens, I feel like I am soaking into a hot tub filled with tea, like strong, real green tea. Very, very harsh, a little bit green, almost grassy. Like when you smell the green tea up close, it has a little bit almost of a grassy smell to it. And this is how this fragrance smells. And I did not like it at all. But since I am testing the fragrances, of course, I sprayed it on my skin, and this took a turn I cannot tell you. So the opening still is the same. You get this extremely uncomfortable, I would say, tea scent in the beginning, but the dry down on my skin is osmanthus. The tea is still there, but it is more of a backdrop, and the osmanthus really comes shining, and I cannot tell you how beautiful into dry down this fragrance is. It almost becomes creamy. I get this very apricot-y feeling now. You see, this is not in the dry down, so I still get the grass. But in the dry down, it is a fruity floral fragrance with a little bit of tea in it. I get the apricot, I get the osmanthus, and it's beautiful actually in the dry down. I totally fell in love with it in the dry down. So this is a fragrance that in order to really get an impression on, you have to leave it for the dry down and test on the skin. I personally am not going to add this fragrance on my wish list, although I really, really love this dry down. But the opening for me is just too much, and I have so many fragrances. There are so many fragrances on the market. I am not willing to wait for a fragrance in order to love it every time I wear it, you know? So I would say, not to say fly by again, test it on skin, wait for the dry down in order to have an opinion on it. And I would say it's a great fragrance. The opening is the most tea fragrance I've ever smelled. Like really a good representation. So good job, Oliver Crisp. Now let's get to the next one. Also from Oliver Crisp, from AKRO, and it is Smile. I believe this was released before Infuse. This is a very generic fruity fragrance, fruity musky fragrance. The beginning is a fresh citrusy raspberry combination. In the dry down, you will get more of the musk and also the clary sage. It's not an aromatic fragrance. It just adds something to the fragrance. This clary sage note, I feel like, is a good combination because it makes it more complex and not one-dimensional. However, the whole composition, I just find very generic, not very special. It's not bad. It doesn't bring a smile to my face. Let's leave it like that. Has moderate longevity and kind of weak to moderate sillage. So not even like very special when it comes to the performance department. And before you ask, yes, I have also Glow, but I am not going to talk about it here in this video because I am doing a comparison video very soon on Glow. I will compare it to Spiritus Double Vanille from KAYALI. So yeah, stay tuned for that video. Next fragrance is from GRITTI. I also did a first impression on GRITTI fragrances. Again, check the description. And the latest release is Monica. Monica is a very strong peony fragrance. I would say this is one of the strongest peony fragrances I have smelled. It is mixed with fruity notes. Again, we have this synthetic fruit bowl. This is how I love to call these kind of notes. So you have like a mix of fruits, all synthetic, mixed with this peony note and some musk. Extremely, extremely strong fragrance and very fruity. So if you are looking for a plush peony fragrance, no, this is not it. This is more strong, very feminine, very, very feminine fragrance. And people compare it to peony and plush suede from Jo Malone. I get it because they have the same vibe, but they are not similar fragrances. This is more fruity and very synthetic. Jo Malone fragrances, I feel like it is rarely for me to describe it as synthetic. While GRITTI, it is most of the fragrances are very, very synthetic. This is not an exception. And I feel like this is the fragrance that will do very well for the brand because it's very mass pleasing, it's feminine, it's strong for those, especially those who really are into long-lasting protecting fragrances. I have to mention also that there is lychee in the notes. Now, the lychee here, and this is where I am going to praise Gritty, is not this lychee that you will find in Quentin Beach fragrances. So it's not the Lena, it's not the same syntheticness of the Lena, of very good girl blush. No, this is different. And I have to say, I like the lychee here more than there. Again, it's still a fruit bowl, but there is a predominant lychee note, let's say. So it's more lychee than other fruits. I would definitely include this as one of the best peony fragrances on the market, but I feel like it's a fragrance that I would not expect from a niche brand. So if I smelled this fragrance, like someone who is wearing it, or I smell it and I know from where it is, I would say this is a new designer fragrance. There is nothing niche about it. A good fragrance, I personally would not buy it because of the syntheticness, but I'm not sure that it is actually worth your money. Gritty fragrances are not very cheap. And although it is a unique peony fragrance, a strong one and everything, I personally don't feel that it is worth the price tag. But I know that a lot of people would disagree with me, and it's okay. Tell me in the comments down below. So Monica, overall, I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. Me personally, but I am sure that this fragrance will get 10 out of 10 for the majority of people. By the way, longevity and sillage is good, so it is moderate, leaning strong longevity and sillage, which is not surprising given the synthetic notes. Next, we have a modern sheep, and it is from the Casa Murati line from XERJOFF, and it is LEVAR del Sol. And this has a beautiful opening. I love the opening of this fragrance. It is this spicy, fruity sweetness that is so beautiful. So first impression, I thought, oh my God, this is amazing. I have to have this fragrance in my collection. Dry down is another story. So it's only in the dry down yet that you will get that this is a sheep, because the oak moss comes very, very, very strong. And also the cardamom. This sweetness is there, but it's more in the background. And I don't know, is sheep coming again into fragrances? Because we have a modern sheep also that I talked about in my new releases from the designer world, the one from Hermes. But I have to say, I prefer this one, totally. It is a unisex sheep with a lot of cardamom, so you have to be okay with cardamom, you have to be okay with oak moss. And don't be fooled by the names and thinking that this is a very sweet, fruity fragrance, because it's not. It's only in the beginning and in the dry down. It has a very, very dry feeling to it. Definitely a nice take, but it's not my favorite one. I am not going to say that it is a fragrance that I would not recommend, because I actually really appreciate it from an artistic point of view again, but I'm just cautioning people not to fall for the notes and think that you will get a very sweet fragrance, because you are not getting it. This is not it. And it is totally unisex. This is just right in the middle. And has an amazing performance. This one stayed on my skin for about 7 hours. If not more. So great performance, and has also good sillage. So I would actually recommend this one, but I would definitely tell you that it's not a safe blind buy, and that you really have to test it before by committing to a full bottle. So that was LEVAR del Sol from XERJOFF. Now the last fragrances come from the same brand, and this is from KAYALI. The set VACAY in a bottle. I know KAYALI is not technically niche. So Mona Qattan released 4 fragrances that come in a set. You can buy them individually, and all of them are inspired by different like popular vacation spots, and they come only in a mini size. You can buy them in a set or individually as a mini size of 30 ml, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check. No, I was wrong. They come in 10 ml. So these little miniatures, which did upset a lot of people because some really wanted a big bottle. I personally don't. I have already bought 3 of them. So I have Maui in a bottle, Maldives in a bottle, and Capri in a bottle. The one that is missing is a Marrakesh in a bottle. And I have to say, I'm not a fan of this one. And I feel like I am not in the minority here. This is an orange blossom fragrance. It is nice. There's nothing wrong about it, but it's very generic. Very, very generic. Something that you have smelled many, many times before. It has some similarities of Love Don't Be Shy, by the way. I definitely get it. It's just not special. I will leave it at that. So this is the one that I would say is not worth it, but it has kind of a moderate longevity and sillage. Now let's get to the 3 that I got. Now, are these the best fragrances that I've ever smelled in my life? Absolutely not, but they are nice enough to get at least the small bottle of. Let's talk about Capri in a bottle. Now, this is one that I would say, if you love this lemon cake, like Lira, like Bake, a little bit also Devotion, you would like this one. It is, however, from these that I've mentioned, the most generic one. It doesn't offer anything special, but to me it offers a lightness that I like. So I personally have Bake, which is my favorite one from these kind of DNAs. It's still sweet, gourmandy, a lot of lemon, sugary almost. But there is something just light about it, which I really appreciate. But from the ones that I have mentioned, it is the most synthetic one. And this is why, for me, this is a number 3. So from the 4 fragrances, I definitely wouldn't recommend Marrakesh. This is, I like, but I don't love. I wouldn't say I wouldn't recommend it, but I don't feel like we needed this fragrance, if that makes any sense. If we compare it to the other fragrances that I've mentioned, this is more synthetic, more sugary sweet. So it's not like a tart, like a lemon tart, lemon meringue tart, or anything like it. So to make it simple, this is lemon and sugar mixed together. That's it. And the sugary sweetness comes really, really through in the dry down. So although I have a 10 ml, I don't think that I would ever buy not even a 30 ml of this fragrance. Actually, to be completely honest, I feel like I regret buying this one. Anyway, next is Maldives in a bottle. And I feel like it is a good representation of the Maldives. I never went there, but from pictures and what I've imagined, it smells like it. While the only place from these that I actually went to is Capri, and Capri I wouldn't say is representative by this one. Anyway, now this fragrance, if you look up the notes, I would have said this is something to avoid, something that is definitely not for me. So you have coconut, you have ylang ylang, so very, very dense tropical notes, and banana, which is a facet of ylang ylang that I don't like, but it just works here. And I feel what makes it work is this aromatic touch. I find it quite nice. I would have never guessed that putting an aromatic touch to a very tropical fragrance would make it work as this one. It really does work here, and it makes it more representative of a tropical place. Now, my problem with tropical fragrances, apart of that they smell like suntan lotion, like very fruity, sometimes dense, overly sweet, is that I don't feel like they represent the place somehow, because I would imagine a tropical island or a tropical place with a lot of greenness, and I always find it lacking in typical tropical fragrances. This has this aromatic touch, so it gives it this green edge, so I can see the vegetation, I can smell like the tropical flowers, but also the vegetation behind it. So I really, really like this one. It is sweet, it is creamy, but not overly. And this is why I decided to add this fragrance in my collection. And I think this is the favorite of most people, but I definitely prefer Maui in a bottle. Now this is in the name, sweet banana. But there is something so addictive about this fragrance. As you can see, it makes me smile. And I think what I like about this fragrance is the pear note. Now I love pear fragrances. And I can definitely smell a sweet, juicy pear here. Also jasmine. Again, so a winner for me. When we combine two of my favorite notes, we have already a winner. It has also banana, it has coconut, vanilla, and overall I just love this fragrance. If you love fruity fragrances and you want a tropical fruity fragrance but is not overly synthetic, this is for you. This is my absolute favorite one. Now, my final thoughts about this collection in particular. As you all know, KAYALI was not like my favorite brands. Let's put it like that. It's 100% in my opinion, and still the case, an overhyped brand. Their marketing is genius, and I don't feel like they deserve that much hype when it comes to their fragrances. But they do have some that are absolutely beautiful. For example, I have the Burning Cherry one, I have the Vanilla 28 one, which are my favorites. And when it comes to this release in particular, I really like it actually. I like the idea. I like the idea that they come in small miniature, so you can carry them in your purse when you go around or even when you travel. I almost never bring a full bottle of a fragrance with me on vacation because it's too heavy. I don't understand 100% why they are not releasing a big bottle of these. So, because it is a size that you can get in any of their fragrances, like the small size you have in all their releases. So I don't get that as much, but overall the fragrances are nice. They are not groundbreaking, I wouldn't say that. Some, as you saw, are more, I would say, unique than others. And overall, it's not something that you would go out of your way to get, if you know what I mean. But they are pleasant enough. Also, as you saw, I really like the Maui one, but it will never be in my top 10 fragrances for life, or my top 10 or 20 even fragrances in my collection, to be honest. And these were all the fragrances. Please tell me in the comments down below, did you try any of them? Which one is your favorite? I feel like, although I have like some bottles of the KAYALI ones, my favorite one is SIRENE from Fragrance de Bois. I just don't like the price tag. And I don't feel like I am so in love to the point to be willing to pay the price tag of Fragrance de Bois, honestly. Anyway, looking forward to see your comments down below. I hope you liked this video and you found it helpful. As usual, you'll find in the description down below a playlist of all my previous episodes of testing hyped up niche fragrances, as well as the recent ones that I did on the new designer releases. And I would love for you, if you liked this video or you enjoyed it, to give me a thumb up. That will really, really help me a lot here on YouTube. Thanks a lot for watching and see you next time. Ciao.